So I'm Mark Trusheim. Welcome. I'll be your facilitator for the day from CoBio Consulting and also the MIT Sloan School of Management. So this is great. And Melvin, if you can bring up my slides at a moment. How are we going to work this today? First, a few disclosures, terms and conditions that all of you should be quite aware of as we go through this. This event is being transcribed. It's also being streamed live on the web today. So what you are saying will be public to the people immediately. The transcription will not be made public. It will be used by the National Academies staff to produce the output summary document from this. So you are public but not all at the same time today. All right, so keep that in mind as we go forward. We welcome those who are on the streaming. You will be able on the streaming approach to watch, but unfortunately we do not have the technology in place to interact with you today. So the people on the web will be watching us, but they will not be directly participating, asking questions, or being part of the conversation. They will, however, have access to the templates that we'll be using as discussion guides, and they are welcome to input their own ideas and submit those to the National Academies, both today and over the next week. The same is true for all of you. Right, that you will have that outlet as well. You'll see you have hard copies on the table and you'll have access to the electronic over time. So by staying in the room, you agree to these terms and conditions. If you don't find that acceptable, we'd be sad to see you leave, but now would be the time to do that. Okay? And the other part, with the exception of the online sort of discussion guide, sort of monkey survey approach to this, there will be no other formal way to put in comments or feedback to this proceedings and session. So you don't have the opportunity after today to say, oh, I really wanted to say something else, and write an email to Morgan and say, please include this point. That's not part of the process. So please, you have to be able to speak up today, or you have to participate via the SurveyMonkey discussion guide format, which is somewhat restricting in what you can put in or not over the next week. Some housekeeping. In case of emergency, exits are on the side and in the rear. Toilets are across the way. Breaks will be on schedule. We will have a bit of a working lunch through today, so just get that in mind. There will be time for some networking, but it will be brief. A few logistics for those of you in the room. You'll see that there's microphones there. They're not automatically on. You have to push the button for them to speak. I'm told they're extraordinarily NSA sensitive. They can hear you from a long way away. So therefore, you do not have to put them right in front of your mouth. They should be able to pick you up from a distance, but they generally have to be pointed in your direction. And you do have to press the button to be heard. And then since they are sensitive, please press the button again so we don't hear your side conversation through the day. So the order of speaking, a few things. We're going to do a lot of broad discussion. The approach to this is, as there's a time, take your card, raise it, and put it on the side. That will be our indication that you would like to say something. We're doing sort of a two-step process that if Laura Lee said something and one of you has an immediate response that's short and pithy and to the point, all right, then you may raise your hand and I will try to call on you. Given the time that we have, I probably won't be able to get to everyone, and to be respectful of the others who have raised their tent cards, we will move pretty quickly through things today. It sounds like we have a lot of time, but actually we have very little. Look around the room. We have some 45-minute sessions. Think if everybody wants to have a comment, a follow-up, and something else, you have to keep your comments in the 15 to 45-second length. Okay? Just be thinking about that. 2-minute speeches aren't where we're at today. We're somewhere between a tweet and a novella. All right? All right? Going somewhere closer to tweets today. All right. So my role as moderator is partially to make things clear, to make things inclusive, to make sure everything is heard. Part of that will be if you notice that you're one of the people who always seems to have a comment, know that I will probably begin to skip you through the rest of the day. All right, so that other people who have not raised their hand yet have a chance to participate. And as you've already noticed, I'm going to be the Nazi on timekeeping. All right, we have a lot of things that we have to get done in order. I'll be reasonably strict through this whole process. And also, for tone, this is a respectful and public meeting. All right, please be careful that we have many different perspectives, backgrounds, and varieties. We want you to feel comfortable to draw on all of that as you try to advance this field of science and patient input. But be careful that as you hear someone who says something you don't agree with, try to stick to the facts and don't attribute motives or go into, well, that's a incorrect, say something factual, as opposed to their motivations or other sorts of things aren't correct, right? That this is a place where we're trying to advance the science through everything, and it requires a scientific and professional environment with which to do that. And if people begin to drift, part of my job will be to try to keep us back to the science of patient input through all this. This is a somewhat difficult and abstract topic. There's lots of design. You're going to see case studies, and the temptation will be to say, well, that case study should have been done better this way. This is not a graduate student seminar and paper review of my graduate students, all right? This is a, what did we learn from that about how the science was done and how should future science be done, and what's the research we would want to do to fill that gap, all right? So this is to create a research agenda on how one does the research of patient input, not the how should we have more Alzheimer patient input on something, or how should we do the actual cancer study for patient preferences on toxicity trade-offs, all right? It's not trying to design that study, it's how would one want to go about doing that with cancer patients? What's the methods that one would use to do that? And then how would we do research on those methods? Those are the kinds of gaps that we're looking for today. It's a higher abstract level, which will make us a little bit uncomfortable at times, but that's part of the fun. The format today is, in essence, three sessions of 3 sections each of 45 minutes. All right? The first session, 45 minutes of lightning round presentations. These will be examples from experts in that particular area. The job of the lightning presentations is to inspire you, not to say what did they do particularly right or wrong, but to inspire you as to what are the gaps, what did that show for where the gaps in research methods and approaches exist, and then how would we fill that over time. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to do tabletop exercises, because in this large group we want to do some parallel processing. All right? If we just went one at a time and said, what are all your ideas, we're going to multiply that by 9, because there's 9 tables here. So in those 45 minutes, you're going to work through the discussion guides and begin to identify within that session topic area, what do you think are the key gaps in research areas? And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. And then we're going to open it up to a full plenary discussion session, where we really see the interplay of your ideas and concepts as together as a group. In the presentations, in the tabletop exercises, we'll talk a little bit more about how those actually work as well in a minute. So you're speaking as an individual. If we do this well, if you saw the movie Wild with Reese Witherspoon, you're going to feel a little lost at times. Revel in the ambiguity for a bit. We will get there at the end, pushing through. Today is an idea generation day. Today is not a, here's the prioritization. We have the joy of letting other people worry about how to fund it and how to prioritize it. Our job is to come up with how would you really want to do this well and right. It's a wonderful day for us. All right? Again, be constructive, be pithy, and be cautious in attributing those motives. The lightning round, 7 minutes per speaker. 3 minutes where we'll open it up for clarifying questions. This isn't the time to do the what would I do, how did I respond to this. This is just an understanding session. These are to inspire you for then the next 2 sessions going forward. Okay? And then, so you're to be listening not for, did I really think that was well done for that particular purpose, but how was that well done, or what were the gaps that it illustrates for where we need to research how we do science of the patient input going forward. Okay, best practices, the methods, not the particular opportunity. The tabletop exercise, we have a discussion guide. It's in front of you. We're also going to ask for e-scribes to do that. We'll go over this again just before. We're going to break into groups. There will be an e-scribe volunteer, and I'd ask that you all think of who would be the presenter. After about 25 minutes, about 3 tables will either volunteer, or I'll go into Harvard mode instead of MIT mode, and I'll cold call on somebody, right, to do the presentation for the table. There will be about 3 to 4 minutes of what were those ideas, and 3 to 4 minutes for us to react to that and try to move that forward. That will be a way that we get as many ideas on the table as possible, much faster and more inclusive than doing other approaches for that. And we'll go through that in a little more detail next time, but it's about context, it's about gaps to address, and it's about what to do. Okay? So we're trying to get to what are the next steps. You have to identify the gaps through all this. And as is very important, you can't identify the gaps if you don't understand something about the context of what you were thinking here. This is a very broad field, right? So different methods and applications are due in different places. So with that, our comments are about ready to go. If we understand the process generally and the tone, 3 different sessions, 3 sections within each. We begin with Lightning Sessions at 9 o'clock. I believe we're 2 minutes ahead of schedule, Lauren, so that's wonderful. Lauren is our first speaker. We are going alphabetically, so in case anyone worried. Arthur, question?
I hope this doesn't count against you.
So hit the microphone and announce your name for us, please.
Arthur Stone, University of Southern California, and I hope it doesn't count against my questions. How, when the yellow light comes on, how long is that?
That is about 1 minute that you have left. All right? Any other points or questions? Here is your clicker.
Great.
Your slide should come up in a moment as Melvin does his magic. And Melvin, don't put my slides on because for the tabletop exercise, we'll have to come back to a couple of those slides. Thank you.